At this point, we are now moving to the next part of our program, where where we will remember our good friend Dick Upton, who has also, well, he was a member of the club since 2003, served the club in various capacities, and he has likewise joined our Lord just a few days ago. And so, to start off our tribute for our friend Dick Upton, I would like to call on President-elect Louie Aseoche to start the proceedings. Louie, are you on? Can you start? Yeah. We can't hear you at the moment. No, we still can't hear you, Louie. You may have to, yeah, you may have to get off and come on again. Perhaps at this time, um, Bimbo, I hope you don't mind if we skip Louis for a while and then we jump on to you because of some technical difficulties. So you will go on first, and then we will have Louis come in after. So I'd like to introduce immediate past President Bimbo Mills to give his tribute for our good friend Dick Upton.
Thank you, Reggie. Am I being heard? Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for this chance to say a few words for Dick. Dick has been a very kind person. As a man, he was always humorous. Every time he had the chance to sit at his table, he would never stop giving side comments, mostly humorous, and sometimes at the expense of some joke he would say about other guys in the table. He was always also an active member of the club in the sense that he would be very opinionated about the directions the club was taking on particular projects. He always had opinions, very strong opinions, and very focused, critical opinions that would direct the project being considered, I think, in the right direction, set the project in the right direction. He was a person who was a very serious golfer and always kindly inviting most of us who were willing to learn to play with him to his programs in Riviera. He would always have special golf activities for the members of the club at the Riviera. As a Rotarian, he was also active in many of the feeding programs the club was conducting in different municipalities that Fred Romeo would start off. And in particular, he was the entrepreneur that was running John Robert Powers as the main uh, teacher, not only of Miss Universe contestants, but for the Rotarians, for the kids, high school children, kids of Makati. That was his special mission. And every summer, and this program went on, I believe, for more than 5 years, he would pick about 10 or so high school kids, both male and female, and he would put them through the programs he specially designed under John Robert Powers. And these kids whose knowledge of English was very basic would end up the 2 months course he would run them through, usually in summer, and they would come out to be very good speakers. Often, their graduation activity would be to speak before the club. And I think all of us who have had the experience of listening to some of these graduates would really be impressed that Dick's program and his big heart to focus that particular activity on these children who were in need of improving their language skills was very effective. And truly, this went on for, I said, maybe more than 5 years. And at the usual 10 to 12 kids, that would be over 50, 60 kids now who are out there in the world owing Dick and his company a skill set that they learned because of the bigness of Dick's heart. So Dick was a special person. who would always be thinking and participating in discussions on anything that would help upgrade those in lesser in life. And particularly his focus was on education, and given his company, he would always be trying his best to expand the coverage of this company, not only for those who are wanting or can afford his special programs, but also for the kids in Makati. So Dick, thank you for your life of service to Rotary, for the projects in particular, but also for the friendships you've developed for each and every one of us, that you nurtured over the years, that you were a member of the club, maybe I believe about 17, 16, 17 years. And those were many years that will be remembered by many of our members. So, great. Dick, thank you for your time with us. And we are sure you're up there smiling at us now as we, as Rotary Club of Makati, continue our efforts that you were actively participating on. And we wish us well as we wish you well for wherever you are. Thank you again for your life with us. Thank you for the opportunity to have worked with you and met you and communicated with you over these 17 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, IPP Bimbo, for those wonderful words.
So how's my audio now, PP
All
Reggie?
right. Yeah, Louie, now we can hear you. So again, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, President-elect Louie Aseoche.
Thank you, PP Reggie. And sorry earlier. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about Dick. I was new in Rotary when I got invited to Dick's residence in Silang. I don't play golf, so I just came in time for the post-golf fellowship. It was the President's Cup, I think. Instantly, I immediately warmed up to Dick because of his congenial personality. He was such a gracious host. His house in Silang was ideally situated in the fringes of this golf course that I understood later on what Dick would always tell me whenever I asked him to attend always the meetings either in our club or in the board or even our mini socials, that he loved his house so much that if there is no urgent reason for him to leave Silang, he would rather stay put. Dick has always been supportive of the club. He is one of those who would be the first to chip in for the last angel projects rather, disaster reliefs, his fishing boat giving project in Gian Eastern Summer is immortalized not only in our club hymn, but also as one of the milestone projects featured in our 50th coffee table book. I had the privilege of helping craft the tripartite agreement between our club, Dick's John Robert Powers, and the municipality of Gian. The project was called Gian Fishing Bangka Livelihood Restoration Program, and it was jointly implemented by the Rotary Club of Makati and the municipality of Gian. This will be followed by another boat-giving project, this time on a donation by past President Carlos Del Rosario's company, Amalgamated Investment. But kind-hearted that Dick is, he can also be unforgiving to those who wrong the club. A recent unfortunate episode with one of the members of our staff saw Dick saying a mouthful to what he perceived was an act of leniency at the errant employee. To Dick, it was not for the board then to display a misplaced sense of charity to someone who has taken advantage of the trust reposed by the members. He would always remind us of our fiduciary obligations to the club and to the foundation, and that we should not play fast and loose with our resources. Dick too was a straight shooter. He would tell off the members of the board if he thinks that a certain project may be off kilter. He would intimate at times to me his discomfort at projects which he thinks may be promoting or favoring one religion or one religious ideology over the other. He would give me a call. He would call me up and sound me off about his impressions just to check if his perceptions were valid ones or if he was just overreacting. But he would always relent whenever he sees the basic objective of that project, which is to give assistance to organizations regardless of their religious affiliations, so long as they cater to the needs of the needy, the abused, and the marginalized. Now, there were two episodes that gave me a searing impression of Dick. The first one was when his temper flared up when the seats he reserved at the table during past President Eddie Yap's induction were given by the usherettes of Aunt Terry Tambunting to someone else. Of course, the usherettes were clueless since they were only following to the letter the policy of Marilu Alejandro, who was then in charge of the seating arrangements, to forbid reservations in the table. But Dick was among those who was part of the presentation. So naturally, we were there ahead. And after our rehearsals were done, we were in the Bigodon ballroom early on. So he considers it as having been there early. So he had the privilege of choosing the table nearest to the stage and reserving the seats. He reserved 4 seats. I think one was for Elmer, and then the other two were for his family members. Then Dick and I went to the lobby to entertain guests. I also wanted to check on the lechon of past President Freddie Borromeo. But before Dick left for the anteroom for that mini lobby, he placed markers on the table to indicate that those seats were his. So when I got back to the table, I saw Dick visibly distressed. His face was so red. He was arguing with one of the usherettes of Aunt Terry Tambunting. And when he saw me, he summoned me, agitated that he found some of our club members sitting on the chairs that he has reserved. And Dick's guests were already there, standing and waiting by the table. So I was asking the usher, what happened? Why did the markers that Dick put were taken off? And the poor usher was, of course, was clueless and obviously did not know that the seats were already taken because they were vacant when she ushered in a couple of Rotarians and aunts to those seats. Dick was glaring at the usher and telling her, "You fix this mess." But since Dick's voice was kind of loud, the two couples, I wouldn't say who they are, to their credit, stood up and just voluntarily gave up their seats and went on to another table without much of a fuss, even apologizing for the problem that thing created. Of course, that was not that was not really their fault. And the sooner that Dick and his guests were able to reclaim their spots in the table, Dick was back to his jovial self, sipping wine and pouring wine to my glass. I know this because I was seated right beside Dick on that very same table. The second episode was we had this speaker in one of our club meetings at the conservatory. The speaker kind of strayed from the topic that was assigned to her and began lecturing on something which was totally repugnant to Dick's convictions. It was actually a slow burn because she began treading on a topic that some of us thought was kind of preachy. The funny thing there was that Dick was the moderator during that meeting. Imagine that. So when the lady speaker was already right smack into the heart of her lecture, Dick was giving me this look from the presidential table to where I was seated, his eyes again glaring at me in utter disbelief as if asking, "Louie, what the hell is going on?" And I could only give him back a clueless look. "Dick, I too don't know what's going on." But to Dick's credit, he did not make a scene. He did not cut off the speaker, even if he was the moderator. He did not take to the mic during the open forum to give that speaker his comeuppance. Neither did he make side comments. He just left the dignitary's table in front and went outside, not bearing to wait till the end of the talk. Dick did not let his emotions get the better of him. Oh yes, he was sore, but He was a true gentleman at the end. Dick would speak fondly of his wife, Alice Reyes, and many a times he would tell me that he will invite Alice to speak in our club because I was then a chair of the club administration in charge of the meetings. That didn't happen though. And to spur membership into the club, Dick gave away bottles of fine single malts to those who can recruit new members to the club. The bottles, mind you, were not run-of-the-mill types. They don't get younger than 15 or 14 years old. So Dick, although I wasn't able to get any single malt from you last year as I have failed to recruit any member, yet I know that you're up there already sipping the finest whiskey. I will miss tapping your tummy whenever I see you. But as you say, the radius of your tummy is proportionate to your height. I will always remember Dick as someone who was true to himself, true to his beliefs, unyielding in his convictions, yet generous to a fault. We will definitely miss you, my friend. Leave some casks of single malt for us there when our time comes, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louie. Wonderful, wonderful words, and you really described Dick very, very accurately, very well. Um, okay, the third speaker is actually me. Um, please allow me a little time to talk about Dick. No? All right, let me start. Dick Upton joined our club in 2003 as the president of John Robert Powers. He provided us programs where children from Pio del Pilar Elementary School were given English proficiency courses to help them improve their communication skills, which he says is vital for their future growth and development. He was always ready to provide speakers for training programs, career talks, and similar activities for the youth. He was a 100%er attendance awardee for several years. He served the club as chairman of the English Proficiency Committee and director several times. He was chairman of the project of the boat giving project in Giwan, Eastern Samar, as Louie has mentioned. And given all of this, I suppose you can say that that was his life as a Rotarian. But the fact of the matter is, Dick was so much more than that. I would say that my personal relationship with Dick started around 2013, 2014. The Rotary year before, 2013, during the term of past President Carlo Rufino, he started a project to provide boats in Giwan, which was devastated by Typhoon Yolanda. For some reason, he just happened to go to that devastated area and saw firsthand people with no means of livelihood stranded in community centers without homes, having lost loved ones. 80% of all boats of the fishermen who were living on hand to mouth, even at the best of times, were lost to the typhoon. Dick was moved greatly. He immediately contacted Carlo and asked if the club could help. Carlo, of course, approved the project, and before long, funds were raised to provide boats. Dick, however, did not just give money and watch things unfold. He got involved. He studied the situation and saw what was really needed. Other NGOs gave boats, sure, but they were small fiberglass boats that broke against the raging waves of the Pacific Ocean. So instead of giving 60 rickety boats, we gave 15 sturdy ocean-going boats that benefited 45 families. Dick made that happen. In 2014, during my term, he led a group of Rotarians, myself, Carlo and Kat, PDG Peps, to travel to Giwan. If you see in our club hymn, a picture of us on the boats with our arms raised, that was that time. We saw firsthand the broken homes, the coconut trees standing with no leaves, looking like giant toothpicks dotting the land. The children with no schools, the buildings with exposed steel rebars, twisted in weird ways by the wind and rains, which locals say felt like they were inside a washing machine. But because of Dick, because of his project, one thing we saw too was hope. We saw men and women going up to him, hugging him, thanking him, because they could actually see a silver lining. Tying this up with what Father Rick said a while ago, he was an angel to them. I saw Dick cry that day, tears of happiness that he has done his part. After a while, I took more notice of Dick. During meetings, he always commented on how great the projects we had, always encouraging us to do more, to serve more. I recall in my presidency when I said that we will emphasize service projects more, he approached me and said that this is what being a Rotarian is all about. He saw that are not just a social club, we are a service club. He attended projects himself, engaged with our beneficiaries. He lived service above self as a large part of his life. Soon I got involved in his business and served as his legal counsel for his company. I was even a witness in his case for naturalization as a Philippine citizen. Strangely, he was not granted his petition due to some technicality. He then asked me how he can get Congress to declare him a Filipino. He loved the Philippines. He loved Filipinos. He loved serving our country. He was a huge part of Ballet Philippines, which he helped establish with his ex-wife Alice Reyes. He recognized the beauty of our artistry and did what he can to uplift it to a world-class level. You know how they say that we sometimes have to be reminded by foreigners how great our country is? Well, Dick was that for me. He was a giving, loving soul. He always invited us to play in Riviera and go to his beautiful house, which we did once as he hosted the President's Cup during his term. He opened his life up to me. I met Elmer, who has become a good friend as well, his employees in John Robert Powers, who looked up to him with admiration. I was told about his children whom he loved and cherished, and his life in the US. We shared drinks, meals, jokes. With his passing now, I will always remember the good things about him. He always had a large, beautiful laugh, usually with some drink in hand and sharing some risque joke. He had passion for good, for doing good, for what is good. He gave big hugs. He was quick to encourage and was not afraid to offer firm advice. Yes, he was stern, but always in support of what is right. He protected the club. He loved being a Rotarian. He loved our club. Always he expressed himself in a big way. Always he came from a place of love. That was Dick. As I can say about many of you Rotarian friends, I love Dick Upton. He was a genuine man who wanted to do good, who wanted to spread joy, who wanted to uplift, inspire, educate, improve those who are in need. I will miss you, Dick. You have been a good friend. Find peace, dear friend. Be embraced by the love of the Lord. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I'd like to call President Peter Manzano to give his message about Dick Upton. President Peter.
Good afternoon, everyone. Unlike Pupo Peña, who had a permanent table or a group of people with whom he shared Rotary lunch, Dick Upton was the opposite. He was everywhere. He was the jolly, cheerful guy in the room. He would go table hopping, trying to connect with all the fellows in the room. Conversing with him was never a pep talk. It was always a full discussion of all sorts of things, social issues, news on current events, or just about anything about Rotary. Dick was a very active member of our club. He was in a lot of club activities. His bubbly character brought spark to every event in the club. be it during our humanitarian services or fellowships. It was because of him that I enrolled my three kids at John Roberts Power. And believe me, my kids enjoyed and learned a lot from the program. They're still raving about their experience even now. I have worked with Dick on numerous times as a director of the club. He always had something to share. And if you think that with his affable character, he will just let things pass on issues which he strongly feels about without saying his mind, think again. Believe me, although Dick was very respectful of others' opinions, Dick was very opinionated. He even had a very funny way of disagreeing without being disagreeable. He would say, "Hey, stop being a dick. I'm Dick, remember?" So this is followed by a hearty laugh from him and by the rest of the group. My last conversation with him was last September 23, a Wednesday. We had a cheerful conversation via WhatsApp at around 6:30 in the morning. He told me he did not proceed with this operation but is under medication. He sounded so positive and was even talking about meeting up when the quarantine restrictions are lifted. So imagine my surprise and sadness when I heard of his passing last September 26, a Saturday, just 3 days after our lively conversation. Maybe that's how he wanted to be remembered, the ever-energetic Rotarian. I will always remember Dick as the guy who brought sunshine to the group. He was the guy who would tell you to look at the brighter side of things, but at the same time stay grounded with the realities of life. Thank you, Dick, for your services and contributions to the club and to the world of Rotary. Please continue to shine for all of us from where you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President Peter, for wonderful words and wonderful words. Now we'd like to hear from the family of Dick Upton. I'd like to call Chris Upton up. Chris, you can now start your response.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris. I'm Dick's son. I'd like to begin with a deep note of thanks to the Rotary Club of Makati and my father's fellow Rotarians for coming together to remember and honor him in this way on behalf of the family, my sister Sarah, Elmer, and myself. We are so grateful and moved by this tribute. I'd also like to extend our sympathies to the family of Puno Peña at this time as well. As you know, and as we've just heard, my father was a very shy and retiring man. Just kidding. If you knew my dad for even a couple minutes, you'd of course know that he was just the opposite, as we have just heard. A booming personality, very passionate, very expressive. And so those of you who have spent any time with him, as his fellow Rotarians have, are probably already aware of how much this club meant to him and how much he treasured the time that he spent in your company. Still, I thought I'd share some brief recollections that might give you an added sense of his enthusiasm for his work and how much it spilled over into other parts of his life. So going back to the early 2000s, I started to hear my father talk about Rotary. I was living in New York, and from across the crackle of the long distance lines, I remember him talking very excitedly about it. Now, from the perspective of my younger self, sort of distracted by all the things that New York had to offer, I'll just say that I couldn't quite relate to what he was talking about, but still I could hear the enthusiasm and the passion very loud and clear. And then when I would come back to Manila for a visit, it was clear that the enthusiasm had grown. And at the time, alarmingly to me, he was insisting that I come with him to a meeting. And again, from the perspective of my younger self, I'm back in the Philippines for maximum 2 weeks vacation, very intent on getting to the beaches and out to the islands for sun and snorkeling as soon as possible. So Perhaps the idea of attending a Rotary Club meeting in Makati was not at the very top of my wish list. But I went because it was clear that it was so important to him. And actually, at that point, I had become curious about what this place was that he kept talking about. And it was then when I attended my first meeting that I understood a bit more why he loved this place so much. The fellowship of like-minded doers, the channeling of energies towards helping people and lifting them up, and the very obvious sense of camaraderie among Rotarians. He was thrilled by all of it. And then, of course, there were the projects that he was so very proud of. He would tell the story of the bangkas of Giwan so many times, and towards the end with enough practice that it almost sounded like he was narrating a saga or a legendary story, complete with misty eyes and the crack and an authentic crack in his voice at the right moment. It really meant so much to him. And of course, my dad knew how to tell a story. So over the years and after attending a couple more meetings on my visits to the Philippines, I started to really grasp the roots of his dedication and passion for this organization. I think it really spoke to him. It resonated with his values. I think in the end, it really, I think he felt it really reflected who he was and his best self. And I think in short, at the end of the day, I think he felt he had found his people, which for me is a very comforting thought. So thank you for that. And thank you again for this opportunity to share and pay tribute to my father. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. From the Rotary Club of Makati, we'd like to extend our heartfelt condolences to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is the end of the tributes. Ron, if you can please play the little video that we have for our dear friend Dick. Thank you very much for that. Well, that is the end of our program. We will just allow me to express that we will miss both Puno and Dick very much. They have been a very big part of our lives as Rotarian. Rotarians, and we ask you to please pray for them, pray for the repose of their soul, that they might find peace with the Lord in His loving embrace. Just as a last thing, I'd like to request everyone to please turn on their videos. We are going to have a little photo from the staff. So may I request everyone to please turn on their videos so that we can all see you. Ron, please take over the photo op.
Okay. Turn on camera. Okay, 1, 2,